Thanks, everyone. This is Eric Stewart from Bad Rhino, and I'm here with the Bad Rhino local podcast. And I got Dan on the line with me. Dan Wright, he's the owner and founder of Treetop Builders, Treehouse Supply, and Treehouse World. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great, Eric. How are you?
I'm doing great, and it's great to have you on here. And these top three companies that you have here, I was looking into them a little bit before we had this kind of podcast laid out, and I just want you to kind of take the time here right in the beginning of it to kind of explain the differences between the three, and then we'll kind of dive into your story after you kind of explain those three differences.
Sure. So all three of the companies have something to do with tree houses. So Treetop Builders operates as a niche contractor that travels around the country building them. Treehouse Supplies is an e-commerce store, website, and warehouse where we sell plans and supplies for people to build their own tree houses. And then Treehouse World is a facility, an adventure park that has tree houses, zip lines, and we operate summer camps and birthday parties and all sorts of things for people to come and play up in the trees.
Nice. And those three companies, and I know we talked about this a little bit before the podcast and your whole story about how you kind of got started in this, starting in your garage. Can you just kind of walk through and lay out that kind of story? Because I think it's really interesting. I think our listeners would kind of like to hear that.
Yeah, well, it started as a pipe dream and a part-time dream. It was part-time for the first 2 years, I would say. But it was just me and a pickup truck working out of a single-car garage. Every dime I earned, I would buy more tools with or buy some marketing with. And it grew a little each year until I started needing some help to get everything built.
So you just kind of kept building it up over time. So take me back to when you first got the idea to work kind of in the carpenter space in building tree houses. What was that first leap of faith that you took, and who were the couple people around you that kind of helped push you along your way?
Well, I would say that the bug hit me while I was building houses for a custom home builder. So we do all the wood in the house, frame, trim work. And it was fun. It was a lot of work, but I was drawn to do something more unique, more creative, and I love nature. And I'd spent high school and college years sending kids down zip lines and up climbing walls and running summer camps. And so I just put the two together. The people around me at the time, well, I was newly married, and my wife helped me with various aspects of the business. And before we had kids, she even helped me build a couple of the early tree houses. So she was influential and a good partner at that stage in the company. And then there were a couple other builders that encouraged me along the way and taught me things. Along with, I'll just say, the internet was relatively new back then, and there were a lot of people that were starting to publish good content that helped me learn anything that was missing in my construction knowledge.
Definitely. So when you first started out, was it a lot of manuals and then eventually YouTube kind of came along, or how did that kind of work when you were first starting out? Did you just have a person next to you being okay, this is kind of what you're supposed to do? And then what age did you start building stuff?
Yeah, so my first tree house was in 2003, so that would have made me, do I want to say this on air? No, that would have made me about 24 years old when I got started. And I had a few years of carpentry experience, but I wasn't an expert in every building code that's out there. I would say that I wouldn't have made it if I didn't have a drive to trial and error, to study and learn to reduce those errors. And then there were a number of people. I had an insatiable appetite to learn. So anybody who was better than me at carpentry or at tree climbing, I was learning from them. And I did eventually become a certified arborist. And so I've been going to get my continuing education all along to keep my tree knowledge up. And then the rest of it is just experience. There's really no training program to become a treehouse builder. You figure it out. You take carpentry and you take tree knowledge and put them together. I am not the best arborist you're ever going to find, nor am I the best carpenter, but there's so few people that put them together, and I do that pretty well.
I like it. Tell our listeners a little bit about arborist because I Googled it before. I didn't even know it was a thing. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I believe it's the study of like trees and how they kind of adapt with different buildings on them. Is that right? Or
So, arboriculture is it includes studying trees, also working in the trees. So, anybody who's trying to understand how trees grow, trying to manage them in urban environments, take them down if they're too risky to have where they are. So, there's a lot of different directions you can go, but anybody who becomes a certified arborist is likely making a career working in and around trees. I might be the only certified arborist who builds tree houses.
wow.
Yeah, most of them are the tree service companies and tree care companies you would see around.
Right. Someone that just come knocking on your door, get a quote to take down like an oak tree in the backyard. I gotcha.
Right.
Yep, absolutely. So let's talk about Treehouse World because it's a property out there and where's that property again?
It's in Westchester, on the north side of town, closer to Fraser, but technically Westchester.
Yeah, and you guys have a lot of different events, different things going on there, like axe throwing and zip lining. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about that and kind of when those kind of run?
Yeah, so it was in 2014 when we bought that property. And then every time that our construction crew was in between jobs, we would just go to that property and build tree houses there. So it got bigger every year, and it's not done. We're still adding a couple new things every year. And now it includes some things that are called amusement rides, like zip lines, tree climbing. There's a free fall experience where you jump out of a pirate ship treehouse. You have to walk the plank, and it feels like you're falling, but then it catches you and lowers you to the ground. It really, really messes with your head. It's not the highest thing off the ground at Treehouse World, but it is the scariest. We run some really successful summer day camps, and that's done better than I thought it would. People really like them. And birthday parties that are outdoor, they're a lot of fun too. But we do memberships and school field trips and corporate outings for team building. There's a lot of different ways that people experience Treehouse World, but it's got a couple dozen tree houses and some rope bridges that you cross and other fun things you do above the ground.
Awesome. And are you guys looking for workers right now? Because as I was looking through like your social media pages, it seems like that's kind of been the big push. Are you guys still looking for workers or?
Why are you looking for something?
No, just for the listeners, anyone listening.
No. I'd hire you in a heartbeat, Eric. No, if any of the listeners have some carpenters or some people who are very personable, who want to be birthday party hosts or summer camp counselors or send kids down zip lines, that's fun. But yeah, our construction team is always looking for carpenters of all experience levels. And then the supply company's looking for a shipping associate now, and a brand manager. So yeah, we're always hiring, always looking for good people.
Business owners and marketing professionals in the Philly area, Bad Rhino takes the overwhelm out of digital marketing. With tailored digital marketing services, from social media management to SEO and PPC advertising, our expert team navigates the complexities of the digital ad space for your business. Let Bad Rhino lead you to success. Visit badrhinoinc.com and let's take your business to new heights. Bad Rhino, we do digital marketing, so you don't have to.
Something I looked at on your website, the underground home. So I'm super curious. What is an underground home?
Well, so it's just the yin to the yang here. I've been building above ground for my whole career, and it's time to go underground. Now, I love tree houses. I'm going to keep building them. I just want to add another line of unique lodging to the things that we build, because in the early years it was mostly backyard play structures for kids, so they're smaller tree houses. Recently they've been bigger and bigger, getting kitchens and bathrooms in them. People are putting them on Airbnb and renting them out. We had a huge project at an Air Force base in North Carolina 2 summers back, so they're getting bigger and more commercial. And when people want to build a treehouse to rent out, they're also the type of people who want to build other types of unique lodging. So the underground homes, you could call them hobbit homes. That a little bit of a trademark issue there, but that's what people call them. I'm not allowed to call them that. But yeah, building various styles of homes that are underground is attractive to me because they're environmentally really energy efficient, and they can be built at a reasonable cost, and they're a lot of fun. I personally would like to live underground someday, so I'm going to build a big custom underground labyrinth for myself, and I figure I've been to workshops to learn how to do this stuff. If I'm going to master it, I might as well do it for other people too. It actually fits in well with the tree houses better than it would seem at first glance.
No, definitely, yeah, because you got the above and then below. You're like you said, the yin and the yang. It's a pretty cool idea. How is it eco-friendly? I'm super curious about that. Like, what are they like saving like power? Or?
Yeah. So the insulation is done with closed cell polyurethane, and you get about 3 inches of that. And there's 2 different technologies that I'm familiar with, and I like them both. But they both use about that 3 to 4 inches of foam, which will give you about an R60 resistance. And there's no studs for your energy to leak through in the middle. It's an unbroken shell, except for where your windows and doors are.
Okay. Yep.
And so the structures are, depending how they're designed, they're between 60 and 85% more efficient than a traditional wood-framed home.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. So it's basically just a shell of kind of like foam?
Yeah, I mean, there's
better
a
terms?
structure to it, and you either make it out of concrete and rebar inside of a balloon for waterproofing, or else you have some panels that are produced at a plant in Mexico, and we bolt them together, and then you spray the foam on the outside. There's 2 different ways to do it. There's pros and cons to each, but they're both very energy efficient and very fun looking.
Very cool. So what's the competition like in the space of tree houses and even like the underground part too?
Well, there is competition, but it's not from big, well-funded companies. There's a lot of little builders out there. There's a lot of people who are a carpenter who hang out their shingle and say, we also build tree houses, but when you look into it, they've built like 1 or 2 and would like to build more. And I think we're up to between 650 and 700 tree houses now. It's all we do. So there is competition, but there's no one we're worried about.
I got you. Yep, because you guys are the treehouse experts.
Yeah, at least on the East Coast, there are a couple of bigger companies in California and Washington that are comparable in terms of the types of projects they build and portfolio.
Gotcha. So Dan, on your free time, do you like to run triathlons? Is that right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that. How'd you get into that?
Well, I've just been a general fitness kind of a guy my whole life, and I ran a triathlon when I was in college and then took a long break, and it was just last summer that some friends of mine were running them, and they got me into it. So I was in 3 races last summer, and I'm signed up for 4 this year. And I've really loved rediscovering cycling. It's my favorite leg, and I'll just get out there and ride for 4 hours, 8 hours. I just love it. I joined the Westchester Cycling Club, and it's been a hoot to learn how to ride in a group because I never did that before. So we ride right and tight, just give the cars as much room as we can and try to ride predictably, and cover some miles, and keeps you in great shape and meet other people with similar interests. And yeah, I just jumped in Marsh Creek for the first time this year. There's an open water swim club just a few days ago, 58-degree water, swam a mile. It was very cold.
Did you have a wetsuit on, or is that just you just sent?
Most people did, but I was just in my tri-suit, which is thinner, but you just have to keep moving.
Yep, absolutely. Well, speaking of meeting people, a place that we met too is the Westchester Chamber of Commerce, and I know the Exton Chamber of Commerce. Tell me a little bit about that network and that, kind of business life of networking, like after hours and even before hours in that community.
Well, I try to go to as many of the events as I can, and I like not just meeting people, but there's usually opportunities you can help each other do business together, and networking is you're not like going there to solve an immediate problem, but you just by developing relationships when the time's right, you know who to contact for whatever you need, and maybe someone can help you, maybe you can help someone else. And I just go to the events with an open mind to get to know people.
Yep, I love it. I do the same thing. Just kind of make friends, make relationships. You never know when things down the road might lead to, you connect someone with someone else. That's what it's all about. Cool, man. So, Dan, I appreciate the time here. Coming towards the end here, just let everyone know where they can find more information about your company on social media and your website and all that.
Yeah, well, all three companies are active on Facebook, Instagram, websites, treetopbuilders.net, treehousesupplies.com, and treehouseworld.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn. That's the best place for me personally.
Awesome. Dan, I appreciate it. And I look forward to getting this published, getting this out there to the world. And I look forward to also seeing you at future networking events coming up.
Thanks for having me on, Eric.